Jewish leaders are calling on candidates to condemn anti-Semitism ahead of Election Day. They say anti-Semitic rhetoric has become increasingly normalized in American politics, especially among the Republican Party. These calls come in response to a spike of anti-Jewish sentiment rearing its head across the nation, including remarks made by high-profile celebrities or supporters who have publicly endorsed GOP candidates, some of which you see on the screen there. Let's bring in Oren Segal. He is the vice president of the Center of Extremism with the Anti-Defamation League. Oren, welcome. So we are seeing a growing number of Jewish leaders calling on Republican lawmakers specifically to reject the rise of anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic rhetoric across the country. This shouldn't be a difficult ask. Tell us what's going on.
You're right about that. Condemning anti-Semitism, distancing ourselves from that should not be something that people should ask for. But the reality is the Jewish community feels particularly vulnerable right now, in part because we are seeing historic levels of anti-Semitic incidents being reported to ADL, for example, over 2,700 in 2021 alone, which was a 34% increase from the year before. And then on top of that, our social media is filled with anti-Semitic harassment and memes and language that we know animates people to action, including, by the way, when that social media is abused by celebrities and athletes, people who have huge influence and more followers than there are Jews on the planet Earth. So all this together means we need our leaders to lead by rejecting anti-Semitism and all forms of hate.
When you mention some of those comments, spurring people to action, let's get specific about that. How is the rise of anti-Semitism specifically impacting Jews and their safety across the country?
Yeah, so, we've seen Jewish individuals, Jewish institutions being targeted with, propaganda, whether it's, flyers or vandalism or people being harassed, and in worst cases, we're seeing assaults go up. We saw over 160% increase in assaults targeting the Jewish community based on our annual audit of anti-Semitic incidents last year. And we know that what happens in the public discussion, whether it's elected officials or celebrities, animates extremists who are trying to create fear and anxiety in the Jewish community. Look no further than recent banners in Los Angeles and in New York and in Jacksonville that include propaganda that says Kanye was right about the Jews. These are white supremacists who are doing that, people who generally don't like celebrities like Kanye West. And so we know that language results in consequences on the ground, and we call on people to stop normalizing anti-Semitism.
Yeah, because specifically that insidious nature of it becoming commonplace without being denounced is part of the problem. You mentioned that after the singer now known as Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, made anti-Semitic comments, we saw those hateful demonstrations against the Jewish community. And the ADL also identified that there was a coordinated campaign to spread anti-Semitic messages on Twitter the day after Elon Musk's takeover of the social media platform. Two questions here, really. What role do public figures play in perpetuating and combating this type of rhetoric? And why did they see Musk as a potential gateway to provide more anti-Semitism on Twitter, and how has he responded?
Yeah, so whether it's celebrities or political leaders, they are responsible for, what is the public discussion. In many ways, their influence shows, what is important, what is not. And they have opportunities as people with massive influence and massive following to sort of model the proper behavior. That's why it's so problematic when elected officials or entertainers or other influencers sort of double down on the disinformation, the conspiratorial narratives that we know has animated people to violence, not just against the Jewish community, but look at, the way our school boards, our medical professionals, our election officials are also being targeted by conspiracies, the lifeblood of which is often anti-Semitism. As for Musk and the, new leadership at Twitter, what we saw is extremists thinking that maybe they have an opening. Now that he's in control, they felt that they were going to test the waters and see if they can organize a campaign of harassment, of amplifying, anti-Semitic and other forms of hate on the platform. And based on initial results, anecdotal and otherwise, we have seen Twitter devolve even further into this hellscape of hate and anti-Semitism. And so we need social media companies also to prevent their exploitation of their services, again, to not normalize the anti-Semitism. The consequences are too high. Belief in democracy is eroding, and it starts with, way to take that back starts with pushing back against hate.
And we mentioned that there are some Republican candidates that haven't made these anti-Semitic remarks themselves, but have been endorsed by others who have perpetuated this type of hate. What do you want to hear from these elected or public figures who are trying to get a public endorsement to hold office?
Anybody, whether it's running for office, whether it's in a position of authority, if they feel or they witness themselves being endorsed or supported by white supremacists or anti-government extremists or anti-Semites or bigots of all kind, they should immediately distance themselves from that hate. This is easy. This is the easy part, to just say that we don't condone or accept the support of those who amplify anti-Semitism and hatred. Beyond that, there's, consistently and clearly saying that our communities are not represented by the hate that those extremists would like us to believe in. And so these are really low-hanging fruit, and yet it seems in 2022, even that sometimes is too much to ask for.
All right, Oren Segal, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.